Sure. But I'm not 4 foot.
Hey, we're recording. Good job.
Hi, Joyce. How are you? What do we got coming here today? Okay, so where's Gary? Say anything about? Oh, he was with the Trumbull Sanitary District.
Gary's not here. I can wing it.
Gary gonna come? Hey, we got a full house.
I didn't think it was gonna be everything or I don't think it's running here.
Got a full house, Commissioner. I know you. Is yours going up more? Yeah. Not enough. What's this doing here?
Arian from Congressman Joyce's office.
I see Ariel there.
Got Beth from Senator Houston's office.
Got Warren Township here. See what happens when you don't. When you don't
We don't want to
tell
miss
people you're
nothing.
not streaming.
We don't want to miss anything. Don.
Welcome, everyone. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Please stay standing for the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Would you please stand for a moment of silence? We have an employee from the Sanitary District, Mr. Edward Douglas Lawrence, who passed away unexpectedly. He was employed by the Sanitary District of Trumbull County. Thank you. Okay, everyone, welcome.
Commissioner,
It is Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, I would also like to add, it is Ash Wednesday, one of the holy days of the Catholic faith. And I hope that everybody finds a little bit of God in their life today.
Absolutely. And I'll second that motion.
Every day.
We'd like to remind you, our next public workshop will be held on Tuesday, March 11th in this room at 10:30 a.m. And we will also hold our next regular meeting on Wednesday, March 12th in the same room at 10:30 a.m. Madam Clerk, roll please.
Mr. Bernard.
Here.
Mr. Malloy.
Here.
Mr. Hernandez.
Here.
Item number 1 is to dispense with reading the minutes of the workshop session dated February 19th, 2025, and the regular meeting dated February 20th, 2025, and accept and approve the video recordings of both meetings as the official meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 2 is to dispense with reading the minutes of the special meeting dated February 20th, 2025, and accept and approve the video recording of the meeting as the official meeting minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 3 is to approve the bills.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 4 is to approve the transfer of the $2 million donation made by the Clerk of Courts to the General Fund to the Commissioner's Contingency Fund, number is listed, to be used for other county purposes as determined by the Board of Trumbull County Commissioners.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 5 is to authorize payment of $380 for the county administrator's membership dues for the calendar year of 2025 to the County Administrators Association of Ohio.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 6 is to execute a letter of support to Bezetta Township, encouraging the upgrade and improvements planned for the Bezetta Township Hall. The commissioners concur that having a designated space for community gatherings is essential for fostering collaboration, engagement, and communication among residents and community-based organizations within Bezetta Township, and to authorize Rick Hernandez, President, to execute said letter on behalf of the Board of Commissioners.
Motion to approve?
Second with discussion. This was an agenda item yesterday that we had asked about. We found that there is no certain grant that this is for. It's just for them to be able to shop around for grants. We wish them the best of luck and success in this, them and all townships that want to make their buildings or their headquarters or their gathering places more hospitable to the public.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 7 is to adopt a resolution authorizing the County of Trumbull, Ohio to approve the issuance of hospital facilities revenue bonds of the County of Allen, Ohio, and authorizing other documents in connection with the issuance of such bonds.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes, and with discussion, we just had a very good meeting with the members of the board and, well, the attorneys representing this this bond issue here, and part of Mercy Health St. Joe's. As you know, we had some issue with the hospital and Stewart Health, and they have came and they have done a great job on keeping our hospitals here for our community. So we definitely support, and I'm sure the commissioners support their efforts.
And I'd just like to say that we're looking for an expansion here soon, hopefully.
Item number 8 is to approve the time and place for the 2025 Trumbull County Engineer Annual Township Meeting of all the township and county authorities having directly to do with the construction and repair of roads and bridges within the county. And the annual township meeting will be held at 6 p.m. on Wednesday, April 9th, 2025 at De Lucia's Banquet and Catering Facility on Elm Road in Warren.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 9 is to award all bids submitted for the purchase of aggregate material for use by the Trumbull County Engineer, and to enter into a contract with each company listed for all materials which the companies bid. Contract will be effective for the term commencing February 11th, 2025 and ending February 10th, 2026.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 10 is to concur with the county engineer to grant the right-of-way permit requested by the company listed,
Motion to approve?
Enbridge Gas, Ohio.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 11 is to concur with the county engineer to grant the quarterly operator fleet permit requested by the company listed, J. Kusted Trucking.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 12 is to concur with the Trumbull County Engineer to grant the special annual supplier fleet permits requested by the companies listed, Hood Industries, Inc., Troy Mill Wood Products, B&J Environmental, Inc., NJM Excavating Service, LLC.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 13 is to concur with the county engineer to grant the special hauling permit to haul steel coils requested by the company listed, J-Road Transportation Services, Inc.
Motion to approve?
Second that one?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
yes,
Item number 14 is to authorize the transfer of Mr. Stephen Storms, maintenance worker at the Sanitary Engineers Department, pay range 8, 3 years, $24.80 per hour, to the position of Maintenance Repair Worker 1 at the Building Maintenance Department, $24.80 per hour, effective Monday, March 17th, 2025.
Motion to approve?
Second that?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
yes,
Item 15 is to approve the personnel action for the employment of Mr. Mike Gaturba to the full-time position of dispatch supervisor in the Trumbull County 911 Department, earning $30.07 per hour, pay range 10, 5 years, effective Sunday, March 16th, 2025.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
yes,
Item 16 is to authorize Rick Hernandez, President of the Board of Commissioners, to execute a letter of support urging Senator O'Brien to preserve funding allocated in House Bill 54 that would increase funding available for eligible Transportation Improvement District projects.
Motion to approve?
Second?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
yes,
Item number 17 is to accept maintenance bond number 432982M issued by Westfield Insurance Company for 5 home sewage treatment system replacements funded through project year 2023 and 2024 HSTS Reserve Program and installed by Proscape Septic and Landscape Contractors. Proscape Septic and Landscape Contractors requested final payment for the work inspected and approved by the Trumbull County Combined Health District.
Motion to approve?
Second the motion?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
yes,
Item 18 is to approve and ratify the signature of Rick Hernandez, President of the Board of Commissioners, dated February 27th, 2025, executing Amendment Number 3 to the Clean Ohio Trails Fund Agreement between the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the Trumbull County Commissioners. Amendment Number 3 is necessary to extend the agreement period to February 28th, 2026. The amended agreement with ODNR includes $500,000 in grant funds secured in 2021 by the Metro Parks on behalf of the Trumbull County Commissioners for use as the required local match for the completion of Phase 4 of Western Reserve Greenway.
Motion to approve?
Second the motion?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
yes. And with discussion, I'd like to thank Julie Green from the Planning Commission who had assisted us. As you know, we were at a convention in a learning process, and this grant had come on our radar, and without the assistance of Ms. Green, we may not have been able to sign this $500,000 grant. So thank you, Julie. She's here today. Yes.
Item number 19 is to approve or deny construction of State Line Road Sanitary Sewer Improvements Project, County Project Number 1-S-19, located in Brookfield Township. The public hearing for this project was held on February 5th, 2025. Results of the public hearing and public comment period indicated 100% of the property owners are in favor of said project and 0% are opposed based on the number of service connections.
Motion
Most-
to approve?
Second?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item number 20 is to amend Commissioners' regular meeting agenda dated October 3rd, 1997, that read to adjust field service amounts for televising, flushing trouble spots within sanitary sewer system of neighboring cities per the recommendation of the Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers Department. Amendment is necessary to reflect the current machine and personnel costs.
Motion to approve?
Second the motion?
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item 21 is to accept the resignation of Ms. Teresa Bragg Flowers from her position of Utility Account Clerk 2 with the Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers Department, effective February 21st, 2025.
Motion to approve?
Second motion?
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item 22 is to accept the resignation of Mr. Anthony Siciliano from his position of draft person with the Trumbull County Sanitary Engineers Department, effective February 21st, 2025.
Motion to approve?
Second motion?
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes, and with discussion, we'd like to wish both Teresa and Anthony, the best of luck on their new endeavors and thank them for their service to the county.
Item 23 is to approve the interagency cooperative agreement between Automatic Data Processing Board and Child Support Enforcement Agency for electronic data processing services effective January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025 in an amount not to exceed $74,711.65.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item 24 is to approve the IVD service agreement provider contract between the Clerk of Courts and Department of Job and Family Services Child Support Division for IVD program child support activities January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item 25 is to approve the IVD service agreement provider contract between the Department of Job and Family Services Child Support Division and Prosecutor's Office for IVD program child support activities January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2025.
Motion to approve?
Second the motion?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item 26 is to appoint Mr. Scott Leland as Apiary Inspector for Trumbull County for the year 2025. Mr. Leland will be compensated at the hourly rate of $12 per hour, not to exceed $1,500, and reimbursed for mileage at the IRS standard mileage rate of 70 cents per mile, and to notify the Ohio Department of Agriculture of Mr. Leland's appointment.
Motion to approve?
I'll second the motion?
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Item 27 is to designate the following listed professional design firms as pre-qualified pursuant to ORC 153.68 for purposes of future professional design projects with an estimated design fee of under $50,000 during the calendar year of 2025.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Malloy.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes. Okay. That concludes our regular business.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to point out that we have a couple of guests here that I'd like to recognize tonight. First, we have Arian Burrow from Congressman David Joyce's office.
Hi, Aaron.
And we have Beth Bigham from Senator John Huston's office with us here today.
Welcome.
Bernie Marino, I'm sorry. Bernie Marino, the other one.
What are you drinking today,
I-
Commissioner?
They're both great
You're-
guys.
you're a little
They
off
both-
today.
They both serve the public the same. I'm sorry.
Welcome, ladies. Pleasure to have you here. We're going to move forward with public comment. We have a full house here. I'm sure some want to get up and give a comment. If you would please, when you do so, enter the podium and give us your name. Yes, sir. You could come up.
Yes, sir. My name's Bob Danko. I live in Portland right now, but there's a couple of things that come to my attention. One is the budget. I'm concerned about that. I worked at Copperwell until they closed the place down. Now, when we had layoffs or we had downturns, we used to work for 34 hours, 32 hours, sometimes 28 hours. In other words, like the clerk of courts, I'd say Monday and Friday, full staff. Maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, some of the people get a day off. At least let them work 32 hours and you won't lay nobody off. You can do that with the road department, sheriff's department. I think, before you look for cuts, that might be something you think about.
Well, and if I can interject, we did discuss that and we have talked to the departments about that. Of course, that will be up to the departments to figure that out, but the commissioners definitely support your comment about, 32 hours. Now, the reason for that is that they could still retain benefits. We don't want families to go without their benefits. So
I'd hate to see a guy get laid off, but
we
Trumbull all didn't care. When they made cuts, they made cuts. They
well,
didn't.
we understand that. And, we've been put in a precarious position here with our budget. So, we have to deal with the cards we've been dealt. So we're doing as best we can. But that will be up to our departments and our department heads to be able to look at their workforce and figure out, where they can make those types of reduction in hours worked.
Yeah, the only one part, comment I'd like to make is on the metro parks. And it says, I didn't realize when I went to the December meeting that those guys don't get paid anything. And the harangue they got at that meeting from, I ain't mentioned names, was, to me, that was intolerable. Shouldn't have happened. I'm in favor of dam coming out. It said, I paddle the river. And it says, you got the governor wants it out, the EPA wants it out. Let's take it out. It'll take 4 or 5 years for it to get to where it's supposed to be. And it says, go look at Gerard Lakes when they took it out. Yeah, it took 5 years. You go around 11. Yeah, it's a little bit of a river now, just a creek, everything grown up. And it says, Summit Street Bridge, them guys did a hell of a nice job. You go down to Struthers. That big water sewage thing that came out from the old steel works. If you didn't know that was there, you had no idea there was a dam there. And you go down to Loneville, they took that dam out. And he says, they put a pavilion up. They got a park up there. They're actually putting apartments up there. They reopened a restaurant. They closed. And he says, there's potential for that to happen up here if we can do that. Make the river safe to kayak.
Well, Mr. Hatzakar, we are working with all communities that are involved. We are hoping that we can have a non-chaotic meeting with Metro Parks. They service the whole community, not just Warren Township or Leavittsburg. So we have to be concerned about other communities within Trumbull County. However, we do know that there's a disparity there. Commissioner Bernard and I, just coming into this, Commissioner Malloy knows better about it, and we will look for an amicable solution to that damn issue.
I just
My-
put my input in.
I have one other comment. Every dam and every situation, in my opinion, is a little bit different. So I think we need to look at all those in every situation. And we can't just say, take out all dams and all dams are gonna be the same when or all rivers are gonna be the same when you take them out. I think each one, Warren Township has a unique situation and we have to make sure that the whole community is protected. Okay? That's always been my main concern since I've came here, and I will continue to do that. I mean, we have studies in that, but I agree with what Mr. Hernandez says. We need to get back to the table. We need to lower the temperature and get the problem solved.
Hey, I thank you for your time.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you. Thank you, Mr. Hatzakar. Sure. Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioners, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Faye Smith, and I am among those who are in favor of keeping the Leavittsburg Dam for a number of very good reasons. I did not see the people who stood or spoke on behalf of the Congressman Joyce or Senator Houston. If I could please get your contact information after this meeting, I'd like to continue conversations with you all. I have reached out to a number of government agencies to alert them to the unique situation we have here in Warren Township with the Leavittsburg Dam. It is, from everything, every time I speak, I always preface it by saying the more I learn, the less I understand, because there's so much to understand. Those of you who've heard me speak before, I'm going to keep it short about the advantages of keeping the dam. It's a double-edged sword. It's holding back a lot of the pollutants that Copper Weld and all the other industry upstream have put in there. By using ripple rock, that would solve a lot of the issues at play here. From my understanding, it would lower a few feet the dam. It would buttress the waters rather, it would buttress the existing dam. It would continue the process that nature herself is doing. The mussels that are in there are eating up a lot of the pollutants. It would forego the dangers of unleashing a lot of the sediments that contain particles attached right to the silt and muck. The word muck is used in one of the online reports that Trumbull Metro Parks has. They have used portions of a draft Army Corps of Engineers Pittsburgh District on dredging itself. If you read the original draft recon report, not the feasibility report, because from my understanding is we're still just at the draft phase. I cannot find a completed feasibility report. But even though the focus was on the Pittsburgh portion of that Mahoning River, it was going to cost $100 million, I think the year 2002, to properly dredge, filter the muck, for lack of a better word, and acres of land, not just dump it at a Copper Weld site or Canoe City, where my understanding is Metro Parks now intends to put a small portion of the dredged material that contains arsenic. Their own report says that there are feet deep of oil sediments alone that, if unleashed properly from the higher waters from Leavittsburg, they'll eventually end up in the Mississippi. And I'm not sure the state of Pennsylvania's governor wants that to come through his area as well. So it really needs more discussion. The other good points about keeping the upper waters, the Ripple Walk would create a man-made mini rapids for the kayakers, canoers to come through. If the states do not intend this to be an actual canal like it used to be 100 years ago with the Pennsylvania-Ohio Canal porting heavy materials. If the intention is just for recreation, I think the Ripple Rock, everybody would agree, would accommodate those people. The Ripple Rock would enable fish migration, and as I said, would enable nature herself to continue. If the Ohio Department of Natural Resources could give us some more mussels or other types of bottom dwellers that thrive on that kind of muck, that would accelerate the process and support the fishing, not edible fishing, but recreational fishing. People do come in this area from out of state just to have bragging rights that they've been able to catch. Can't remember the type of fish. There are some people here who are fishermen who could be able to speak to that point. Without proper planning, there's real danger of the banks themselves collapsing. And unlike these other dams that have been removed, if you just get a Google map look of the Leavittsburg Dam area, you can see how it winds. And if that dam is removed entirely without anything to hold back the spring or other storm waters, there's a real chance that the houses on the banks of the river will collapse into the area there once the waters are not holding back by pressure. There would be no policing for other people to come in, like the four-wheelers, and they would be running on just the muck itself, getting stuck in there. I want to wrap this up very quickly because I know other people want to speak. My heart goes out to the people who live in Braceville who are having issues with their basements. I see somebody chuckling. I have two of my best friends who were reared in Braceville, and they understand the wetlands out there. Both of those homes had to have sump pumps. Both of those homes had to have dehumidifiers. that area, like many parts of Louisiana, other parts of the country, are not meant to have basements. My mother's one of her classmates from high school made a real profit, became a millionaire by taking house trailers and putting them on wetlands out near Johnston, where she's from. It was called Latimer Swamp. They actually called it a swamp, but it was very similar in makeup. And again, according to some of the reports that are now being posted on Metro Parks website from Trumbull County, they admit that those areas are far different. The studies show that from Leavittsburg to Braceville, 200, maybe 400 million years worth of glacial deposit, completely different. So thank you, Commissioners rather, for understanding the complexities, and it is complex. One of the things Metro Parks, I wanted to bring to your attention, one of their reports said, it's going to take up to 14 years. That's what they've stated for anything to recover from dam removal. 14 years, not just Leavittsburg, because once you unleash those poisons like PCB, PAH, others that I can't even remember the names of, they become airborne. And those airborne particles can travel as far as 50, maybe even 100 miles. I don't want to have to leave the home in which I was reared. I came back to take care of elders, family elders. But if I have to, and if others have to, that land is going to come up cheap, and somebody is going to buy it up cheap. And when you look at the online dredging report, just a draft, I encourage anybody here to get on the Metro Parks website under the Leavittsburg Dam Removal Project. It's there for you all to read, all kinds of documents. And one of the things that upset or concerns me in red on page VIII, operation and maintenance costs are a 100% local responsibility. Now, they don't specify that, but does that mean if they do remove the dam without our considerations, the township is going to have to continue dredging? We can't afford that. In this report, it talks about isolated capping of hot spots. The whole river's a hot spot. So thank you for your attention. And the last thing I want to ask that I never got an answer from, and if we can either speak, or I can speak to the governor's representative, the senators rather, and the congressmen's, who actually has oversight of Metro Parks? Who can look at their books? They're starting to have transparency on their website for more information from their perspective. But I have a cousin who's afraid to ride her bike in Trumbull area due to unpoliced biking areas. She rides her bicycle for exercise in cemeteries. She feels safer there than she does in the grassy lands of the Metro Parks. And Cantfield, I know it's a completely different outfit, but it's still Metro Parks, and we're talking about this whole Lake to River initiative. MSC, one of the local television reporters, talked about 2 months ago, I believe it was, people aren't using some of those Metro Park walking areas because pollutants from MSC are there, and they don't want to track that into their homes and get sick. Thank you for your attention, and I
Thank you,
hope
Ms.
we can
Smith.
have further discussions.
Thank you. Now, I want everyone here to know that we are extending a little bit of the conversation. We have a lot of people here. I know that we have a lot of those that want to comment on the dam issue. So if you be patient, a lot of these conversations are getting a little lengthy, but we would like you to try to hold it down as much as possible. Anybody else here that'd like to speak?
Hello, my name is Nancy Ritz, and I'm also a resident of Warren Township. And I know that there have been numerous reports and studies by knowledgeable people that have discussed the removal of the dam and have stated removal of the dam is not going to stop the flooding in Braceville. And it's sad that I believe that what I've heard and read, that there was a representative from Metro Parks that went to Braceville Township trustees and said exactly the opposite thing, that if if the dam is removed, it's going to stop their flooding. Braceville's problem is their soil and their own creeks that are unmaintained. They have their own little dams in there that have been created in their creeks because they're not maintained. And so that was false. I believe that either Metro Parks is uninformed or they misrepresented the facts. Again, I reiterated this once before, and I'd like to say it again. I believe that John Brown's appointment to the Metro Parks Board is a conflict of interest. He is a Warren City Councilman. He's involved with this river project issue, this big thing that they want to do in the peninsula in Warren. And I believe that that creates a conflict of interest for him. And I'm in full support of disbanding the Metro Parks Board. You know, they just seem to have too much authority and they ignore the wishes of too many of the constituents of the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ritz. Yes, sir.
My name's Ed Randall. I live in Howland Township. To start with, there was a comment made about people being afraid to go out on the bike trail. I'm on the e-board of the Outspoken Wheelmen, our local bicycling club, and I can tell you that we regularly have rides out on the bike trail. And when people say it's not safe, it has a chilling effect that people won't go out there because they hear it's not safe. It is safe. And the more people you get out there, it's self-policing. They're not going to do harm to you because they know there's somebody else coming along on a bike 2 minutes later. What I came up here for was to talk about the water increase. Is this the proper place to discuss this?
Sure.
I just got a letter from the Howland Township trustees. We're looking at 82% increase on our water bill. Now, it wasn't too long ago. I made my first visit here because of the sewer increase that Gary went through. The first time I got my sewer bill, I thought it was a mistake. And then the second time I found out it wasn't, that these rates had just been jacked up. And I came here and Gary told me about the cost of everything going up. Well, you know what? The cost of all our costs are going up. And we have to figure it out on our own. We can't just give an 82% increase to our Social Security, or God willing, we're getting a pension or something like this. I don't know, is his position an elected position or appointed?
He works for us and
It's appointed. To answer your question, it is appointed.
Okay. And y'all are in favor of this huge increase in our water bill?
we're not in favor of any increase in things, but the costs are cost. We can't just not raise costs when we're paying the cost. Something's got to be done one way or another. And I understand your concerns with that. I understand the concerns of everybody with that. But I don't like paying more for gasoline than I have. I don't like paying my electric bill more than it is now. It's going to double on you. And that's something that we have no control over. That's the world we live in. That's the feds. That's PUCO. That's going to happen in the next 2 months. But we have been absorbing as a county costs now for 15 years and not raised it one dime on anybody. So now we're at the position now where we're going to be operating in the red. We have to be responsible to provide that service for you, or we just can't give you clean water anymore.
I just don't understand how that's happening. I really don't have a hard time understanding why.
That's just simple math to me. 15 years without an increase.
Fact that I have to have an 82% increase. When the sewer bill went up, and it made no sense to me, and that's why I came here. I was paying more for the water going down my drain than the water coming out of my tap. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
If I
And
could,
sir-
sir, if I could interject my thoughts, and I've said since day one that I have a lot of questions and I need a lot of answers before I vote for a water rate increase. All right, and especially after yesterday's workshop, there were some issues that brought out that I think we need answers. So I'm not in favor of raising the water rates until I get a lot of my questions answered. Okay.
Yeah.
And I hear you and I agree with you. And I think I think we need to do a lot of cost savings and do a lot of research before we impose those water rates.
That's what
on-
we have to do with our budget.
Right. I hear you and,
Yeah.
and I'm on your side.
John Q. Public is suffering. I'll tell you what, it's
I-
really, we're getting hit on all sides.
I understand that and I
Thank
agree
you for your
with you.
time.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. I would like to comment, one other comment. Commissioners, as you know, and Commissioner Malloy had mentioned it, those water rates have not been raised for over 10 years. These rates have stayed the same as where they are at currently. Now, we are mandated by the state to charge the customer the rates that we are at the very minimum that we are paying to supply the water. So what you're going to have here, and I appreciate Commissioner Bernard's empathy with the people, and I the same. However, you're going to end up in a situation to where you're going to have a fiscal emergency, and then you have the situation where if your water gets turned off, what other choice do you have? So the commissioners have to be very. We're with you, sir, and I agree. Everything's going up. We've had to make some major budget cuts here recently. Your pay won't go up. I get it. I understand it. But just like Commissioner Malloy had mentioned, gas prices go up, electric prices go up. Look at look at we just had. Well, the commissioners before us with the aggregate. So we feel your pain, but we are going to have to make some moves somewhere, somehow. And keep in mind that these rates are not, that they aren't, that the commissioners want to raise the rates. That the fact is that the state requires us to raise those rates in coincidence with what we're paying for that service that you have. So, but again, I reason with.
I'd like to interject something there too, if I can. And I understand, and you're right. But my problem is when you and I hit the door, they had the emergency vehicles running down the rate increases to us, saying it was an emergency, and they had the fire trucks, the ambulance, and the police cruisers all running down to bust through those doors to say, "Hey, we have to raise them right now." Well, where were they the last 8 or 10 years? And like I said, I have a lot of questions to be answered before I put that rate increase out there.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with you there,
Oh,
Commissioner.
I do disagree just a little bit. I think we saw in the facts yesterday that were brought to us by Mr. Smith that last year is where things went south at $1.5 million. We were steady for 10 years where there weren't any alarms and whistles or bells.
No,
Then
they
last
weren't.
year something went off the cliff when we brought in 500,000 less and we spent $1.5 million more. That's where what triggered it in 2024.
No, I think if you look at that report, they were losing revenue each and every year. It's just that we lost 1.5 last year. Okay. But that's for another discussion. If we want to get into this debate, I see sanitation engineer, they're standing up. They want to put their 2 cents worth in. So
We
I guess
appreciate
we're going to
that.
let them comment.
Thank you, Bob.
Bob Myrano, Sanitary Engineers. I just want to clear up a few things from yesterday that Engineer Smith brought up. I went back to the office yesterday, looked through our revenue and expenses, and what I presented was our total gross revenue and expenses. When I looked into it, we were doing what are called money transfers. And in 2023, Auditor Yoder implemented a new system, so we no longer did money transfers. And what a money transfer is, it's basically one fund paying another fund. So a fund incurs an expense, another fund incurs a revenue. So what I did is I took those out and showed them separately on the sheet of paper I just handed you. That's in blue. So if you look at the revised revenue column in gray and the revised expense column in gray, you'll see that our revenue is actually slightly higher over history. So when Mr. Smith said our revenue was down, I mean, our revenue was 6.9 million, which is in line with everything else when you do not factor in these accounting transactions that we were making that inflated the revenue. If you look at the expense column, I mean, our expense was $1.1 million higher from 23 to 24. If you flip on the back of your paper, I actually broke down where those expenses came from. So the 1.1 million increase in expenses, 980,000 of that was related to bulk water increases. So that's just where our supplier charged us more money. So the other expense was an increase in contracted services, which is what we use to do yard restoration, water main breaks and stuff like that.
Was
So-
that a bulk rate increase in 1 year, that 83%?
Correct. But that's year over year. I
Year,
mean, that's going from
23 to 24.
23 to 24. That's not 83% increase. It was a million. The increase from 1 year to the next was 980,000. But of our loss, 83% of that was attributable just to the bulk water cost.
What is the current consensus on our year end without raising rates, where the water department will be in loss?
So we started with about 620,000 unencumbered. We've lost 220,000 in the past 2 months. So we have 400,000 left. We're probably looking at losing 1.2 to 1.6.
1.2 million to 1.6 million without any rate increase.
Correct. And as my understanding that if we can't make up the shortfall, it would have to come from the general.
And we're paying almost $1 million more to buy the water than what we were paying before.
And we've expected it to go up 330,000 more this year.
And that's who's our biggest provider?
Gary Newbrow, City of Niles, then Warren, then Newton Falls, then Youngstown in that order.
So, but the combined four of them raised us $980,000.
Yes, sir.
but we were in trouble before that, right?
And
The
I-
sanitation, the water department, your rates were in trouble 8 years ago, correct?
Commissioner, if you.
I mean, answer the, at what point in time was the water rate, should they have been increased? Just give me a year.
I would say.
Was it 2015? Was it 2019? Was it 20?
When I proposed it back in December of 21.
So we did not need a rate increase before then.
Yes, Commissioner, that would be correct.
So you're saying we did not need a rate increase until
Well,
2021?
It would have been nice to adjust it.
Well,
so-
I,
so
I'm
we
not
broke
saying
even,
what
but you
was
can look
nice.
at the chart and see
When
we
was a
started the
rate
deficit.
increase needed?
When we started the deficit, we could have made adjustments.
Was when?
So I guess.
On your chart.
2019.
19 was when we started working at a deficit.
And then when did you come for a rate increase to the commissioners?
In 21, that's when we.
And when did you come,
initiated the
and then
rate
when,
study.
then when did you come again then after 21?
I'd have to look through my record.
Oh, you
Commissioner,
don't
but it was-
remember?
But I addressed it with commissioners.
I'm just
multiple
asking,
times
you know,
through the
you,
years.
you should know when you come for a rate increase. So you came once, when's the next time?
It was discussed, Commissioner, with the.
At
with
a
the
meeting
board.
where you formally
I
requested a
don't have
rate
that
increase.
in my memory.
Well, get
I
that
just don't
information
have
for
that.
me. You don't have to raise your
Okay.
voice, just give me the information.
Commissioners, what I would say, I mean, just from a pure accounting standpoint, from 2015 is the last time our rates were increased for Trumbull County. We had rate increases in 16, 17, and 18 from some of our suppliers. We should have requested a pass-through adjustment at that time. So the rates probably should have been adjusted slowly for the past decade. So as what Gary said, in 2021, we had asked the commissioners to engage in a rate study, which we did. In 22, an agenda item was put to the commissioners. It never was voted on. And then in 23, I believe he discussed it with the board again as well. So it's been brought up in 21, 22, and 23. It was not brought up last year, to my knowledge, and we're bringing it to you and again.
Okay, well, commissioners, we definitely are going to have to make a decision on what to do. I understand, Commissioner Bernard, your point. I believe Commissioner Malloy, you know, we can't go broke. We're going to have to do something. So I think our residents need to be prepared for something. As much as I hate to tell you that, because if we do not, then we go bankrupt. And I don't want the water department to go bankrupt.
Well, we cannot be in any type of a fiscal emergency in this county with the economic development projects that are on the table, with the people that are investing billions in our valley. We can't have a deficit in healthcare with the hospitals. We can't have a deficit in our taxes. We can't have a deficit in county services provided, or it's going to scare business away. And right now, we've got a lot of big business on the hook. We're reeling them in here that are ready to break ground in our community. And the last thing we need is for this board or any government to put ourselves in a fiscal emergency or any type of a watch that's going to set up bells and whistles that might make a potential investor in our valley hesitant. We can do the right thing and avoid that. And
But then,
that's what.
then why
that's
didn't you
where we're
guys
at.
raise the rate increases 2 years ago then?
Well, commissioners, I don't want
We,
to.
Commissioner, we go back and do this for
Yeah, I don't.
this exercise for the last 12 years, putting blame. It doesn't make it any better.
Well,
And,
no.
and if, Commissioner, if we would have, with all due respect, you're saying that 2 years ago they kicked the can down the road. Right now, you're saying the same thing, the
No.
exact same thing.
The
That
only-
we're not going to raise rates here.
the
That's
only
what we did
difference
2
is-
years ago.
Commissioners,
difference is-
let's please just,
The only difference is that you have people on fixed income and now you want to put.
They were on a
huge-
fixed income 2 years ago.
Right, but now this rate increase is going to hamper them and they're not going to be able to take a.
It would have
all the
hampered
other
them
costs.
2 years ago.
okay, hey, hold on.
If you don't care about the residents, then go ahead and raise the rates. You
Let's-
got 2 votes.
Let's call it to order. I just don't, we don't need to go down this road.
Yeah, Commissioner, just one more thing. I just wanted to point out that I regret that yesterday we didn't have these immediate answers for you regarding, those revenue and expenses. And, and that the operating statements, they just show you this is total expenses, this is total revenue for a year. And it should have occurred to us yesterday that, hey, there were interfund transactions in there that skewed those figures. So I regret that happened. And, but anyway, I hope this clarifies it all.
And Commissioner, I don't want any rift with us.
No, we
I'm just
don't
saying
have-
this is the board that's going to fix past problems, whether it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago, or in December of last year. This is the board that's going to fix the problems. And we agreed that together. And I'm willing for us to work together to do that, not cast blame on the past, because believe me, in this county, we could point the finger at a lot of stuff that's happened in our past. I'm thinking about our future.
I understand that and I agree with that. But if there's somebody that needs to be held accountable, then I need to know that. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not sure that I have all that information at this point in time.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Trustee Suttles, you're getting pushed out of the way here.
You're going to be a
Yeah.
grand finale at the end, I think.
You might have to run for higher office, I think, to get in there.
Dawn
Ms. Zinni?
Zinni, Hanai, Trumbull County Recorder. So I've been listening, we've got a lot of problems, budget problems. I also know that there were union contracts signed just weeks before a lot of us took office. 10% raises across the board. We're worried about staff. Staff is terrified about being laid off. This gentleman had a very good idea, 32-hour work weeks. The community is worried, raising sales tax, water rates, so they're suffering, but also us newly elected people and the commissioners were all in a tough spot with these budgets. But I'm also going to propose, and people are not going to like this idea, instead of these 10% raises over 3 years, why don't we all take a 3% pay cut temporarily, including the elected officials, to try and get this budget under control and maybe not have to raise taxes? That is just a thought, maybe a temporary cut. It's just my idea.
And I appreciate that, but I can tell you, and I don't think anybody here would have a problem with that. The issue
Start with mine.
is, Ms. Zinni, this is more of a deep problem than you know.
Oh, I agree.
Than I believe that you
I
know.
agree.
And it would take a lot more than that to solve the problem. Here,
It's
let
a
me-
start.
yes, it is.
And,
Let-
maybe we could prevent some layoffs,
Let-
people completely losing their jobs.
Well, and we have talked about, and again, we're not going to play politics here. I personally want to see a 1/4% raise in our sales tax. And I'm going to tell you why. If it was done 10 years ago or 5 years ago, we wouldn't be in this position today.
You guys are in
That
position, all three of you,
we
because
are.
none of you were here
that
5
that-
years, 10 years ago.
Oh, no, we were,
But
Commissioner Bernard and I just started here 2 months ago.
Exactly,
This was,
exactly.
it's, but I don't even want to go down that road.
Mhm.
I'm looking at what the right thing to do is. The right thing to do is get Trumbull County up to par with other communities, with other counties. We are the lowest sales tax county in this entire area here. It is crazy. Now,
Well-
what I would propose is that we would have a sales tax of 1/4% for our safety services, our sheriff and our 911 service. This will allow us to fund those departments and free up some monies to be able to keep our departments moving. You know, our residents are going to suffer here.
Oh,
They're definitely going to suffer.
the difficult thing is we're talking about a raise in sales tax, a raise in water rates. Where does this stop? And I'm not blaming it on you guys, because this should have happened over the years gradually.
You're right. You're exactly right.
But
This
you
was,
guys are in a bad position.
and you're new, and it's in now. You're having to handle it. We're having to handle it.
I have
we-
3 positions open, 2 over in microfilm and 1 in my department, that I'm just not going to fill
I
to
understand.
try to save the jobs
Right.
of the people who are in now.
Right.
And
I
just,
understand that.
Well, I agree with you, but I think the first thing we have to do is make sure that we make all the cost saving cuts that we
Agree
can
with that.
first. That's the first thing we have to do.
Right.
Okay. And then the second thing we have to do is we have to be watchful and make sure that each department, does whatever they can forward. But as I stated before, I stated it yesterday, I'm going to state it again today. Okay. If we're going to put on a sales tax increase, my opinion and the way I'm going to vote for it is that it's going to go to the voters. Okay. They're the ones that are going to have to pay the increase, and I think they should make the decisions.
I agree.
And we'll put it on the ballot and see what the people tell us.
I agree. Anyway, that's
Thank
my
you,
2
Ms.
cents.
Zinni. I appreciate your service.
You know, one thing,
And-
I brought up economic development. We kind of crippled ourselves in a sense that we are competing against the world. It's Trumbull County against the world when it comes to bringing businesses here instead of there. And we're competing against Mahoning, which gets double what we get on their sales tax, the percentage that they get. We're competing against Portage that gets a 1/4%, an extra quarter on every $100 bill than what we get. We're competing against Columbiana, these other areas that we're trying to put it in our border, and we don't have the same luxuries that those counties have as far as the funds that the county can provide to roll out the red carpet for these businesses or to assist. And that's just stating a fact. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it is a fact that we are at a disadvantage. We kind of spotted them a quarter or 50 or 75% when it comes to us competing against them. And that's in the past.
Well, yeah, I won't say what I want to say. We'll just end it.
Thank you, commissioners.
Commissioners, Alex Stephen Jonesy Bush, Human Resources Department. Not here to tell the board what they can or can't do, but I am here to remind the board of one thing. Union agreements are contractually agreed upon. They were either decided through fact-finding, conciliation, arbitration, or any of the top above things. With that being said, 10% is correct over 3 years, 4, 4, and 2, or however you want to break it down. But for most of the contracts, we consistently went with the 4, 4, and 2. Now, one thing that we can absolutely do is I implore the Board of Commissioners to look at the email that I sent them last night at about 1 o'clock in the morning about multiple things that we can do. HR is working very hard to provide you with options. However, when you are dealing with unions, all of those options have to be worked through with the union first. We cannot just arbitrarily go cut people. We have to work with the union. Now, sometimes the unions will absolutely partner with us, and I gave you guys a map of that last night of the conversations that HR is willing to start to have on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. We need to start engaging those unions now. We can say to them, we can do voluntary layoffs, or we can collectively agree mutually agree to take that 4% maybe down to 2. There's things that we can do, commissioners. I sent you about a really long email last night. I implore you to read that thoroughly because I have outlined all of those things that we can do for you. One of those things is also addressing administrative costs. Okay. Yes, when you have unions, you can't do anything with that unless we mutually agree. However, every single appointed official in this county has the right to do whatever they feel is right and within budgetary restraints for their specific non-bargaining staff. Commissioners, we have a job to do. We need to do it together. We need to do it with all elected officials. We need to work hand in hand. Now is not a time for divide. I'm begging and pleading all departments, all elected officials, all employees, do not listen to the spin. Let's get to the bottom line and let's figure this out together and let's do the right thing for Trumbull County in fairness. Thank you, commissioners.
Very well put.
Thank you, Alex.
And we learned yesterday, our sales tax didn't go down. We stayed steady with what we had last year. We were able to balance the budget last year and have no problem at all.
That's not true.
It is true, but now we have more debt.
Ask Alex.
We have more debt now that we carried over from the elevator breaking down and the engineer's roof and some of the debt that we had to put on
No.
that we didn't have. But sales tax wise, it stayed steady. It's the increases that we had with health costs and the increase in these union contracts that are what are putting us up out of the bubble right now.
Well,
Trustee
let's move on.
Summers?
Let's move on.
My name is Dan Satos, trustee in Brookfield Township, and I just, one item on the agenda, I didn't know was going to be on there. I wanted to thank you on behalf of the residents on State Line Road, you and the sanitary engineer. We had our hearing after your last meeting in February, and I'm glad to see that you approved that. Handful of households, but it's going to make a major impact in that area, and I appreciate the efforts on the commissioner's parts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Suttles. Okay, next.
Hello, my name is Sherry Moliterno. I'm a resident of Braceville Township. I brought with me a list of comments from the February 12th meeting that the commissioners had here that I'm going to give to you, and I'm not going to go through all of that. But I want to hit a couple highlights of the things that happened at that meeting or things that I think are important to relay. But first of all, before I do that, I want to say, as a resident of Braceville Township, we in no way feel that the dam is going to solve all of our flooding problems. We hope in some small way it will help, but we know that that is not it. And the reason that I keep defending the dam coming out is because it is absolutely the right thing to do. Now, when you talk about the flooding and people want to say it's our soil, believe me, when my house is surrounded by 2 feet of water for 8 to 10 hours, it has nothing to do with my soil. That is a flooding issue. So, you can take all the reasons you want for why I'm complaining about the dam not being removed with the flooding, and it just is non-existent. The flooding exists. It's not the soil, it is the water. And we are not responsible for the trees and that fall in the river. That is not our river. That is an Ohio waterway. So I'm not dumping washers and things in the river. Trees fall, they decay, they clog up the river. That's an issue that Commissioner Malloy and I have talked about getting some dredging done. It has nothing to do with dam removal. Now, the other thing that has happened is when I listened to the 12th meeting, people were criticizing the Metro Parks Board for being, they're actually talking about their character. I have not seen or heard the Metro Parks Commission boards do anything that is unprofessional. And at the last Metro Parks meeting, a resident came and apologized to them for the way that they were being treated by the Warren Township residents and the trustees. And if that comment was directed to the people of Braceville, I still disagree. We held to the 3-minute time limits. We tried to be non-personal and explain our concerns. And we were not people that they had to have a police officer come to the meeting and take away. Not because we were being disrespectful. They also said that, that Randy Fabrizio was telling people in Braceville, I'm sorry, I have a, I have medicine that makes my mouth go dry. That Randy Fabrizio told the people in Braceville that the dam would stop the flooding. That is absolutely not the truth. I invited any member of that Board of Commissioners to come to our trustees meeting to talk about the dam project. The other residents that attended were there because we wanted to speak to our trustees and we wanted to hear what the dam project entailed. He never said that it would eliminate the flooding. He only talked about the project, and when he was questioned with anything outside of that reign, he refused to comment. He wouldn't do it. So that's just absolutely false. The other thing, and Commissioner Malloy, I'm sorry, but you said that the board was making this political. I think you have made it political. You keep tying the Metro Parks Board to the dam removal, and they are not the same thing. The Metro Parks Board is responsible for the maintenance or repairs of 5 parks, 7 water launches, 8 hunting grounds, and the bike trail. All the money that you give to them goes to repairing those facilities, maintaining them, capital projects. They never use 1 penny for the dam removal. And I have looked at their financial records, and I know that to be true. And in the past, when they could not make the budget because they didn't have the funding, they decreased the mowing and the maintenance of the parks. They removed and or decreased the porta potties. In 2016, they closed the park on North Road. They are doing everything they can to financially be responsible for the money that you give to them. And to accuse them of using it for something else is just a good soundbite. It's not the truth.
Did the lawyer donate his time to the board to fight us on the issue?
The lawyer is not being paid through the funding money that you give them. I know that to be the truth. Now, if they have another source of the money, that is for them to discuss, not me, but it's not being paid through the money that you gave them. Honestly, I know that to be the truth.
Ms. Moliterno, very quickly, just in defense of the commissioner and Commissioner Bernard and myself, we did just give
Yes, you did.
a 6-month,
That was
whatever
my
you may
next
want to call it,
statement.
and Commissioner Malloy agreed to that. So I just want to be clear that, the residents know. Now, we know there's Warren Townships here. We know that there's a disparity there. However, this is why we need to try to come together, not separate and go apart from one another. So we're looking very much forward to having a amicable conversation with Metro Parks concerning that dam and concerning their funding, because they do have the authority to maintain the trails, the bike trails, and everything that they do in Metro Parks throughout the county. So we do have to pay attention to that.
Yes.
So I just want to be clear on defense of Commissioner Malloy
was
that
my next statement, that you have given them half of their budget. I still think that the reason they're not getting the full budget is a political decision.
That's not true.
no, that is not true.
That's
no.
not true.
That's-
Not,
Yeah.
but it appears that way when you keep tying the dam to the Metro Parks.
No,
They are separate and they
Sure,
cannot be
we have a
tied
budget,
together.
we have a budget situation right now that we are working on where all departments and all entities have been cut and very deep. So,
Understand.
we're not, it definitely is not political, Ms. Malterno.
No. And at the last meeting that the Metro Parks had, they unanimously agreed from the budget they originally give you to, in good faith, offer you 15% less, to ask for 15%
did.
less. They were already on the road to trying to make those concessions.
Mhm.
They are being as fiscally responsible as they can, which shows by the things that they've done in the past to stay within the budget.
But they also did at that same meeting have on the agenda to give their executive director a raise out of the money that they get. So they were going to ask
On the
us for
12th?
less, but give him a raise, which takes away from money they would use to maintain the
I don't
parks.
know that that's true. I don't
It
remember.
was on the
hearing them
agenda. You
talk
can look
about
at the agenda from the
I was
12th.
there. I don't remember them discussing that at all because what they were discussing mainly was their closing plan. which was supposed to happen at the beginning of March, which is now is extended, thankfully, because you guys have given them some funding. But that's what most of the, I'll have to go back and look. I don't remember that being a part of the issue.
I just personally, I just like to stick to the issue and not get personal. I think that's part of the problem. I think we need, again, to lower the temperature, so we can get back to the bargaining table and say, okay, how can we work this out? All right. Let's just stick to the issue and hopefully, it'll be a good outcome for everybody. That's my goal.
And I think that is their goal too, understanding that right now their hands are tied. They have two legal actions going against them. One is the appeal to the EPA on the dam, and the other is the injunction that they have.
Well, we had to do that.
I understand that, but their attorney has told them while that is happening, we cannot talk. They cannot talk. So, something has to be done to make that arrangement so that they can get around that, but that's what they have been told.
Well, that's for the attorneys to work out.
Yes, yes. Now, as far as the dam goes, there's so many things wrong with things that are being said. It's hard to even start there. 65% of the removal cost is for the dredging before the dam is removed. This project has been studied by the EPA, the ODNR, the Ohio Wildlife and Rivers. It's a part of the Clean Air Act. Everything has brought this dam to the point where they said it needs to be removed. The dam has a life of 100 years. It is now 116 years old. Everything in the study says that they will do whatever they can to maintain the pollutants, and to believe that covering the pollutants with water is really just doesn't make any sense, because the ODNR puts out annually studies saying that you should not eat those fish only so many per month of certain types, some only one every 2 months. Those pollutants are getting in to the water systems and to the people. So to think that covering them up is really just kind of silly. It just doesn't work. I lost track of it. Commissioner Malloy has said that he tried repeatedly at the board's request, the Metro Parks Board. I'm sorry to pick on you, but you've been in this more than anybody.
Sure.
From the time that they were not here. You had said that you had called the governor's office, that the governor set you up.
Virtual
someone from
meeting with the EPA Deputy Director, Martin.
All those
And
things.
Mr. Fabrizio refused to attend the meeting,
And then
called
he
and said they're not
refused to attend the
attending.
meeting, right?
Correct. After Mr. Moss and Mr. Sauer said they had no choice but to vote the way they did at that meeting we had at Kent State, because the EPA didn't get back to them to get them the facts. So they gave me till the 15th of January to set a meeting up, and they said they would attend. I made that meeting happen. Mr. Fabrizio ordered them, we're not attending the meeting, we're no part of it, called the governor's office himself and said, we're not being a part of that meeting.
That's what you say.
That's the truth.
All right. Here's an email that came from, pages are out of order, came from the Assistant Director, Chief of Service Water, to Commissioner Malloy and Director Seven. I hope 2025 is off to a good start for you both. It's my understanding there's a lot of discussion locally about the Leavittsburg Dam and deviating from the plan for complete removal. If all the team, in parentheses, Commissioner, Metro Parks, Township folks, etc., agree in writing on a different path forward for the dam and submit that plan to Ohio EPA and ODNR, we will evaluate the plan.
That preceded the phone call to have the meeting virtually, because I said they didn't want anything that way. They weren't going to provide that. So we wanted the meeting to be face to face, as Mr. Sauer recommended.
Asked you for an agreed plan in writing. You answered him, say, please reference my voicemail and return my call. We are advised that a virtual meeting would occur as soon as possible to answer questions. This route will not resolve the situation.
Right.
They asked for it in writing with an agreed
And then he
plan.
returned the call.
They asked for a plan in writing that you agreed on.
Which Metro Parks would not provide.
Because the Metro Parks reviewed the DLZ report and found no alternative to removing the dam that satisfied all of the qualifications from EPA, the ODNR, and their
That's
sponsor
their
program-
opinion. The EPA
can't-
deputy director, no, that's their opinion. The EPA director told me there are three options. That they could
Okay.
use the dam for an alternative or use the money for an alternative source like riprap. They could,
That.
they could,
Prove that, please. Hand me that in writing and prove it.
call Mr. Martin yourself.
No,
He's the deputy director of EPA. Call him yourself and find out.
why can't?
Because
you
right now we're in a
prove
he
it?
said, she said, and
That's
you're not a
why-
part of that
that's
conversation.
why the
Call them
EPA
yourself.
Assistant Director of the Chief of Service Water said, I want it in writing.
That's before we had the conversation. You see, you read in there, I said, please return my call. And he did. And we talked about it and he scheduled the meeting and they refused to attend the meeting. Mr. Fabrizio said, I don't believe you. I'm going to make my calls to the governor's office myself. And then next thing I know, I heard from Mr. Sauer, we can't attend the meeting.
Okay,
They want to plan your. meeting.
Commissioner,
All right,
we're
I'm
gonna
done
move,
with that.
we're gonna move on.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
done
we
with
have a
that. Just
lot.
have one last thing to say. Ed Anthony, the trustee from Warren Township, said in the meeting that the EPA and the Eastgate do not care if the dam comes out. Those comments are false.
You're wrong there. The EPA said they do not care. The governor's office and the EPA both said,
Right.
we're not making you do either way. It's your
I have
choice
a
as a
submission
community.
of The report of the meetings from the 12th, and in that I've included on page 14 and 15, a list of the individuals who I've quoted that are for the removal of the dam, including the Eastgate mission statement, Assistant Director of ODNR, Mindy Barkey, Ohio Senator, now U.S. Congressman Mike Ruley, Ohio Senator Sean O'Brien, Ohio EPA Director Ann Vogel, and the Governor of the state of Ohio, Mike DeWine. All of them are for the removal of the dam, at least at the point that these were put out. Those need to be considered. To make a bold statement that you talk to someone and they said that I don't.
Senator Sean O'Brien hasn't been a senator in a couple of years. So you're
When
looking years
he-
ago.
When he made this comment, he was at that point in time.
Right, before we had the DLZ independent study that showed there were alternatives.
Which, out of all good consciousness, the Metro Parks Board examined, and I gave you a copy of the review that I made. I'm giving it to you again. It does not meet the requirements of ODOT and the EPA and the other organizations. You may stand on that study and keep saying that there are alternatives there, but if they don't meet the requirements necessary to the Clean Air Water Act, it doesn't float. And you haven't proven that those studies give a viable alternative to removing the dam. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moliterno. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Paul Yanucci. I'm from Warren, Ohio here, a couple blocks away from here. It's the first time I ever been up here in all the years I grew up in Warren. And first time I've got to attend one of these meetings. And since I was gone for 43 years because of the Air Force, and I was a former police officer back in the state of Delaware. I'm here today because I want to speak about this dam. There was 9 dams that were talked about being taken out. And I talked to, not knowing everything about how our waterways work, I stopped and talked to the Army Corps of Engineers in Portland and found out to my surprise that the dam doesn't belong to them, or they have no control over the dam on the river. And some other things I found out surprisingly, because I always thought the Army Corps engineers took care of all our waterways. And, you know, you always see when somebody does a study, the Army Corps engineers have been involved. So I went to talk to them before I started getting involved with this. And I've been watching this fight, which I think is totally unnecessary. When you have 9 dams and we're fighting over this dam for no reason. The dam is 116 years old. It was put in for the our steel mills and the power plant that we once had on Summit Street. And you know, what amazes me, of all the people that are against this dam being taken out, there isn't a one of them that is an expert on the waterways, not a one. And that's what burns my butt. I looked at this thing and I've been watching, and you know, that Leavittsburg and Warren Township can say, well, you don't live there. But let me tell you something. I am a resident
growed up, born and raised in the state of Ohio. That river belongs to the people of Ohio, not just Leavittsburg or Warren Township. And the lady here that spoke about the sediment in the river, if anybody went down there to Summit Street and watched what was going on down there when those guys took that dam out, they had tarps laid out where the old power plant used to be. All that dirt they dredged up was put out on them tarps. And they took the trees out that were blocked underneath the trestle, the railroad trestle. And you know, the thing that really gets to me is, you know, when I was going to Turner Junior High School, I'm a kid. My drafting teacher, Mr. Braunburns, was an older gentleman, and he used to talk about how they used to go swimming in that river. I'm a kid looking at that river in the wintertime with steam coming off that the river couldn't even freeze. Would not freeze in the wintertime, no matter how cold. It could be below zero, and that river never froze. So in my mind, and even today, I'm 75 years old, thinking about that river being clean. And I can't imagine going in that river and going swimming. Not at all. And I don't even imagine my kids ever going in there and going swimming, or their kids. I believe, you know, when they took the other dams out, and I mean, I got to say, watched the Summit Street deal, and the guys that did that taking that dam out did a good job. But why are we going to keep a dam that's 116 years old, that the only purpose it's serving is the people in Leavittsburg are dumping sewage in there, and they're worried about the stink and smell? Well, hey, sewers are coming. You're going to have to live with it. And Nancy, I want to say something about what you said about the dams in the creeks. When I lived in Delaware, when I first got there in October of '74, Dover Air Force Base, there's a St. John's River there, and the swamp is between the highway and the Delaware Bay. And every spring and summer, it stunk to high heaven. I mean, it was terrible. Well, finally, after several years, the state went in there and cleared out those the drainage in the swamps, and the smell went away. So when she brought that up, that's what lit me up a little bit. They're using the dam as a Band-Aid to keep those creeks from flooding over, when the creeks are the ones that need to be cleaned out, and maybe stop that flooding. That dam needs to go so that the people can use that river all the way down from wherever it starts to wherever it goes. And I mean, you know, unbelievable, this fighting and the money taxpayers' money being wasted to fight this deal. Lawsuits and lawsuits. We don't need that. You know, you guys talk about the money being spent. We're looking at money that has to be taken away from things like the police department, the sheriff's department. We don't need that. Not in the climate we live in today. We need those cops on the road, and they're being stretched out. And I mean, I'm as a former police officer, I've seen a lot of death in my life between the military and being out on the road. We need to protect our county. We got too much crap going on all over this nation right now, and our police force, when people call, they need to be able to have those guys respond. And taking money away from them, from even anything, you know. Understand that the fat needs to be trimmed, and if there is the fat, but we can't take away from what these guys do. And as far as the Parks and Recreation goes, I want to say this. I went to the meeting for the first time with those guys. And basically, the money you give those guys, they're basically a nonprofit organization. And Mr. Malloy, I didn't appreciate the fact that when you went to one of the meetings that you said if they refused to take the dam out, you were going to take money away from them.
I said if they refused to meet with us, if they refused
Yeah,
to.
but you also said that you wouldn't fund them. And
but,
I didn't
Sir,
appreciate that.
Mr. Iannucci, but we just did, and he voted with Commissioner Bernard and I to fund them. That may have been out of, I mean,
Yeah, well, the only
it
thing
gets
yeah,
contentious,
but
I
the
understand.
representation that you put out there as as an individual, as a commissioner,
I understand.
didn't look good to the public. And he's one person against the other two. And I
understand.
it just felt like he was bullying those guys. And like I said, they're basically a nonprofit. And if you guys had to hire people to do the same job they're doing now, you'd be paying a hell of a lot more money than you'd paying those guys now. And for them to go ahead and take money away, or respond to, you were saying that the different departments may have to cut back. I understand where you guys are coming from, and nobody wants to see taxes being raised. But since I've been back here in 2017, I've watched this commissioner's office battling back and forth lawsuits. We don't need that. The perception that this commissioner's office gives the public is not a very good one right now.
Right.
Now we got you guys are new.
You won't see
We're
this
watching.
board suing each other. I can guarantee you
I
that.
hope not,
No,
because
but,
it doesn't look good.
no, I understand, Mr. Iannucci. Thank you for your service too, by the way. We appreciate your comments. We will,
Thank you for
Take all-
listening to me. I had to wait till I was 21 years old to vote.
Mhm.
I have never missed an election. And I ran for, when I lived in Delaware, I was asked to run for town council. I ran and lost by 1 vote. If anybody knows about voting being important, this guy does know. I've been asked to run for a city council and I haven't done that, but I believe in America. I believe in this country. I believe in Warren, Ohio. I believe in Trumbull County. We need to step up and do the job without all the political BS that goes on, that has gone on. And we need to keep going forward, because I'm going to tell you something. I vote, and I vote twice. And the reason I vote twice is my wife listens to what I tell her.
Thank
So-
you. Thank you,
so
Mr. Iannucci.
Thank you for listening to me and let me spout.
That's a good thing to hear.
That was awesome.
It's kind of unusual, really.
That was good.
I vote twice too. My husband listens to what I have to say.
I thought that.
That does not surprise me.
Name, please.
Tricia Wyatt, Trumbull County. I just want to ask, I was talking with my husband because he's an inspector for rebar, concrete. Right now he's in Trenton doing a big job for the Kennedy Airport for the state of New Jersey. We have money right now to take that dam out. If something happens like the Colberg Dam, where's the money coming from? The Gerard Dam, the Kensman Dam. And there was 2 people that went over the Summit Street Dam, because one of my friends said his cousin from Newton Falls got a kayak. I believe it was in the early 90s, and he came from Newton Falls, and the sign was down when he went around the bend, and he went over the Summit Street Dam, and they didn't find him for over close to 4 or 5 months. So besides that lady, there was somebody else that went over that dam, but I can't remember his name. I just know his cousin's name, and I don't want to say
Well, that
it.
was not the Levittsburg Dam.
No, but it's 100. It was built in 109. So who's going to fix it if it comes apart like Kensman? What's going on with the dam in Hubbard?
That's a whole separate
Yeah.
entity. That
But it's a dam.
it is, but that's a low head dam compared to a dam. The one in
Has any-
we're speaking.
Look how the cement looks underneath the water. If it's,
If that dam were to blow out, then the situation is solved and we just saved $3.5 million. It's not going to flood out anybody or hurt or harm anybody. If the Colberg Dam were to break down where there's people below, or Liberty Lakes, Gerard Lakes Dam, that's a little different. Those aren't low head dams. Those contain water that can kill people downriver.
I think that with the study though, didn't it say that the dam structure was in good shape?
It is.
I mean, I haven't seen the report myself.
And we're
but-
overlooking too. They said that you got to take all the dams out to restore the health of the river. And that last gentleman just said the dam was put there for the mills. Well, it had a purpose. That purpose isn't anymore. So he said, get rid of it. The next dam up from that is Lake Milton Dam. It was put there to create a water supply for the city of Youngstown, which they don't utilize anymore. So do we take out Lake Milton Dam and let that Lake Milton return to become Mahoning River again? I mean, where does it end? Do we, I mean, if they want the river to be the river in its natural state, we dammed up Lake Milton the same way, we dammed up Kerwin the same way for purposes that aren't utilized today anymore. But God, for nobody would want to drain property on Lake Milton. Why would we want to affect it? What I'm asking, what the question is, the people that do live on the river in Warren Township, that's their Lake Milton.
I
That's
think-
their
I
heritage.
think it
That's
goes-
what, the way they want to live.
I think it goes back to my statement 15, 20 minutes ago. Each dam situation is different
Correct.
and we have to look at them differently. We can't just do a carte blanche and say they all need to come out. And I think that's what the commissioners are saying. I think that's what Warren Township is saying. And hopefully the Metro Parks will look at that also. You know, we just need to look at it. What's the best solution? Is it best to keep it in or take it out?
And we
And-
don't know that yet.
and-
We
and-
haven't
and
decided
you're
that yet either. I
absolutely
haven't
right.
decided that yet
Right.
either, but I
Yeah.
would like to sit with the EPA to see if there are alternatives.
And we don't know that. And that's why, again, we need to lower the temperature and let's see what the facts are.
If they do the ripple effect, well, could they take some of that money or did the taxpayers have to pay?
No,
for it?
this is a grant money.
Yeah, but
It's
their-
taxpayers' money, but it's a grant towards
It's
the
to
dam.
take it out, but are they allowed to use it to do what the plan you had studied?
The EPA said when we had that meeting that that was one of the options that they considered that
They
it could be
use the
repurposed,
money,
that
yeah.
that
Or
dam,
if you're
that
not
that
asking
grant,
taxpayers to
that
do
grant
it.
could be repurposed if there was an alternative method that was agreed upon.
Okay, as long as you're not asking the taxpayers.
Thank you, Ms. Wyatt. Well, I think we have somebody up, but we're gonna, we're gonna take, I don't know if we have any department heads here that,
Well, I think Kay Anderson would like to
okay,
speak.
sure. Trustee Anderson? Well, you could come up. I don't know if there's any department heads here that want to speak. We are allowing a little extra time. We had a short meeting, but we do really need to, we have another meeting and we're gonna need to shorten it up here.
Kay Anderson, Warren Township Trustees. I'm sorry to see that a few people left the meeting because the information that we have retained that the commissioners were so generous to help pay for this study showed that there was an answer besides the removal, and it was the rock ripple. And we appreciate Commissioner Malloy. You tried everything you could to get Metro Parks to sit down and look at that study. They did not want to look at the study. Probably still have not looked at the study. So we have gone down avenues trying to work with Metro Parks, and I know two of you are new and your intentions are to try to work with them. And I hope you're successful, but we have been dealing with this for almost 6 years. And it is very frustrating, and it's fine for anybody that lives outside of Warren Township to stand up and give their views. We live in America, that's what we do. We all talk. So this is not just going to affect Warren Township. According to the study that we have, that right now, we know the situation, even though we have the sewer lines that they're looking to be starting on, but they're going to come in stages. So that's not an overnight fix for our community. And that river runs through Champion, Braceville. This isn't just a Warren Township issue. If something happens when they take that dam out and the river goes down the way some people say that it's going to, it'll be a creek. We've got trees down in the river. There are no plans that I know of Army Corps of Engineers or anybody coming in to clean that up. And I've been at meetings where people from Braceville have been upset because they think that if this dam comes out, that's the end of their flood issues. It's been shown in the study that's not going to be the end of their flood issues. People, outdoorsmen, you're very outdoorsman, Commissioner Malloy. I know you understand that that section that gets flooded is flooded because of the dams from the trees falling into the river. So it is so sad that here we are 5, 6 years later talking about this same issue with a different board. And I know that it puts you, the two new ones, it puts you in a difficult position. But the fact is, if Metro Parks would have sat down as Commissioner Malloy asked them to, this probably wouldn't be going on this long, because I believe there was at least 2 gentlemen on that board that were willing to listen to reason. And because the board wouldn't sit down and I have a hard time believing that they're ever going. I mean, I wish you well, but Commissioner Malloy can tell you how many times did he call them. And I've sat here, I've watched Commissioner Malloy being attacked. He was attacked by Metro Parks at open meetings, pretty much was attacked at this meeting because somebody didn't agree with what he did. Now, it's a sad, sad statement, because I do think that we have a board that is going to listen to the people. I don't see any infighting going on anymore. I'm not going to say it's a pleasure to come to all these meetings, because I have a life that I'd like to get back to. But we, as a board of trustees, took an oath to always look out for the health and welfare of our residents. And Trustee Yoho, Trustee Anthony, whose name was brought up here today, kind of disparaging, and myself are going to fight this as long as we can, because we have to look out for the health and welfare of our residents. And the study that DLZ did, that you were gracious enough to pay for, shows there is another option. So I just wasn't planning on speaking here today, but I just want to thank you for giving me this time, and please take this serious.
Oh, I think we are. I think we're taking it very serious.
So, I mean, you saw what happened when I was here a couple of weeks ago, why we were all here addressing this issue. Metro Parks had hired somebody that cut down all the trees at Canoe City, and all 3 of you, I watched that over again. I think we're in shock. And now they have a gate up with a lock on it. So yesterday I got a call, there was a gentleman that wanted to get in to put his raft in, and they have a gate with a lock on it. So I guess they're telling everybody, which they continue to say, Canoe City, we own Canoe City, which used to be open for anybody who wanted to use it. And we own a dam, and we'll do what we want to do. So again, I'm thanking you for all the help that especially you, Commissioner Malloy, and good luck with Metro Parks.
Thank you, Trustee Anderson.
Thank you.
Can you please give your name and come up to the podium, sir? Again, we're gonna have to be a little short here. The commissioners have another meeting.
Yeah, when he was here a couple of weeks ago, you said you wanted to get with Mr. Sauer and Moss. I was wondering if you have spoken to him yet.
I communicated with both Mr. Moss personally.
Sorry, your
Mr.
name, sir? I'm sorry.
Jim
Commissioner.
Hessler.
Jim,
M-
Mr. Hetzler? Okay.
Mr. Sauer by voicemail, and Mr. Fabrizio refused to take the meeting with EPA. They said they can't talk anymore with us.
So you couldn't get any information on where they're leaning or anything like that, huh?
But they just said that they have an attorney, and Mr. Fabrizio is the president of the board, and at this time they're not taking the meeting with the EPA.
All right, the only other thing I want to tell you, everybody's been listening to everybody speak up there. I don't want to sound like a know-it-all, but I've studied this for 5 years, and about 3/4 of what you heard today is wrong. Sorry. about the depths and the mud and this and that.
I only want to make one comment. My intention is to get it out of the press, get it out of the newspaper. Again, let's lower the temperature and let's get in a room and discuss it and see if we can't come to an agreement. The more it's in the press, the more we have conversations like this. I don't think it's helping either side. And let's just try to maintain and see where we go with this. You know, give us a chance to see if we can't work something out.
Yes, Commissioner. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. My name is Beth Bigham. I know that Senator or Commissioner Malloy and you all introduced, just wanted to make sure that you all know I represent Senator Moreno now. I used to represent Senator Vance in the area. I'm excited to be here. I'm honored to be at your meeting to hear what's going on in your county. Certainly, Senator Moreno wants to partner with you and make sure that Ohio is the best place to live, work, and raise a family. So as much as I can be a partner with you and be a liaison to the office, I want you to know that, you know, I'm open to that and want to build a relationship with each of you. So also want to let the public know who are here today what some of the roles of our office is really quickly. I know your meeting has
You can take all the time you want.
ended, but some of the things that our office do, we want to be the office that does great work for constituents. So when you have issues with the federal government, whether that's veteran services, Social Security, passport issues, we have caseworkers on standby who can help you with those things. Now, maybe we can't always get them resolved, but our intention is to work for you. So certainly, we've got a website that's up and running, and you can insert some information, and we can have a caseworker reach out to you if anyone has issues with any of those problems. Happy to do that, or anything else. Just want to be a liaison and a dot connector for the community. So
Well,
thank
we
you.
appreciate that. And from one auto dealer to the other, I appreciate what Senator Moreno went
Yes.
through when he was running.
Yes, and absolutely. Since you mentioned that, he recently, I think it was last week, brought the federal Transportation Freedom Act. And so that particular act will roll back some of the Biden emission standards and help increase, it'll give some tax benefits to auto dealers or auto manufacturers rather, so we can start building more cars in the US, lower the prices, so California emissions aren't sort of driving, you know, the nation. So we're looking forward to that, hoping that it moves forward, and you know, just happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. I think you're going to see a lot of good things to come in Trumbull County here in the near future. I think you've probably been hearing some good things about Trumbull County.
Yes.
And this is why we want to continue to work together, get through some of these issues that we're facing. You know, but sometimes you got to get to the bottom before you can get to the top. So
That's right.
we're working on it.
Well, it's
Thank
nice
you.
to see such engaged constituents because they really care about their community, and I know that you all do too. So thank you for the work. I was a city councilwoman for a while, so I understand it's a sacrifice, and it's, you know, you take some hits and, you know, you keep moving and doing the best for people. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Arian Smith from Congressman Joyce's office. I'll make it really, really short. Echoing the sentiments of Beth, we work closely with Beth when she was with Vance's office, and we plan to do the same with Senator Moreno. We love working with you guys. I look forward to getting to know the two newer commissioners. I've had the pleasure of meeting Tony at the Salute to Elected Officials last year, and I know Rick from I was about to
Trustees,
say
wherever,
trustee, the
yeah.
whole nine. So we also do similar things as Senator Moreno's office. I actually work in downtown Warren. I'm from Ashtabula. I say I'm a Trumbull County resident by proxy because I love Ashtabula County, but we have more cows than people. So to do everything, we come down to Trumbull County. Homecoming dances, the whole nine. I've spent much time down here. But we do have an office in Warren. I have cards. I would love if you guys have opportunities to stop in. We are not walk-in based at the Warren office simply because it's little me in there. So we do request that you make a meeting. But I have cards, and I look forward to working with everybody.
Arian, it's a pleasure to have you here and to have you both here at the same time. Was that planned? Oh, you did have a plans. Now where are you going to lunch? Thank you very much, ladies. Okay, I don't know if anybody else has any comments. Alex, did you have a comment about anything? I don't know, because we were getting, okay. I didn't know if that meant anything. Okay, thank you. Well, commissioners, yes, Ms. Rintz.
Understanding the
Please give your name for the journal.
Nancy Ritz,
Yes.
Ward Township. One thing I'd like to say, the dilemma that the county has with the budget, it's really, really unfortunate. As a property owner, as a senior citizen, my hope would be that if there has to be a way to raise revenue, that it is through a sales tax and it does not come back on the burden of the property owners because.
That would absolutely not happen.
And
It's not going to happen.
and.
Not on our watch. I could speak for all the commissioners here.
And I would hope that it would go to a vote and that the citizens of Trumbull County would realize after hearing that we have the lowest tax in, what is, all of Ohio, or at least all of the surrounding area.
Most.
A 0.25% increase in our sales tax is going to hurt us all a whole lot less than another way of raising
I
taxes.
100% agree with that. And, when you look at it at a 0.25%, just imagine what that is. That's 25 cents per $100. 25 cents anymore. You leave quarters,
And that's
on the
something
counter
that
when you
we
buy
would all
your
share.
goods.
We would all share in as citizens of Trumbull County, and the burden not be put on a select group of people, because I know as a senior citizen, and I'm thanking God that I never hooked up to the Trumbull County water. I have sewer, but I have a well. So hearing that, all that information about water increases, I'm glad I kept my well. But anyways, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Ritz. Okay. Yes, Gary?
Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Bob and I, we were unavoidably running late this morning to get here.
We did a moment of
I
silence.
understand you did do the
We did.
moment
We
of
did.
silence for Ed
Oh,
Lawrence.
yeah. Would you like to give a little?
Yeah, I just
synopsis?
like to recognize, he was a 30-year employee, senior meter reader with our department. He was somebody we could count on all the time. His experience and expertise of what he did and running the crews for the other meter readers, he'll be sorely missed. He spent 10 years in the Navy, mostly working on submarines. So I want to thank you for the moment of silence today. And it is a loss at our department. We are in a state of sadness out there about it now. So,
I could appreciate that. Thank you, Gary.
all right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Commissioners, with that, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Second the motion?
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.